Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello crafters, welcome to my channel if you're new here. Welcome back if you're a subscriber. Today I'm going to make a wedding card and I'm going to use the Love from Lizi Super September card kit. It's called Indigoletta and it's just beautiful. You get a sneak peek of the colours just there. I have an unboxing down in the description as well as card videos linked down there too. There's links to the products that I'm using, to Lizi's website, etc. So I'm going to move this over and let's have a look at what you're going to need to make this card. So I have a piece of cardstock here. It measures 8 by 8. It's 300 GSM and it's a super smooth white cardstock. I'm going to stamp a sentiment in the middle of this and I'll show you the stamp set that I'm going to use in a minute. At the bottom here I have a piece to embellish it. So my purple cardstock, it measures 7.5 by 1 inch, and then I have a piece of pattern paper on here and it measures 7.25 by 3/4 of an inch. Now my pattern paper wasn't long enough to go on this piece because I'm using it elsewhere. So I took one of the ephemera pieces. I cut a straight edge along the right hand side and the bottom, and then I stuck that down so you wouldn't even know that my piece of pattern paper didn't reach. So that's going to be on the back, and then on the front our card is going to sit. So I'm doing it's a bridge fold, but the bridges aren't going to be the whole way up. They're only coming up 5 inches, and that's these pieces here. So it's an adapted bridge fold card. At least that's what I'm going to call it. So I have 2 pieces here and these measure 5.5 by 5.5. I've scored this at 1/2 inch, at 1 3/4 and at 3 inches. I've done a mountain, a valley and a mountain fold for that. I've put a piece of double-sided tape on this tab. This tab is going to get stuck onto our card like so, and then it'll fold over like this, and this one will fold over like this, and when that pops up it'll pop up like that, and that'll give us our bridge fold. So generally a bridge fold would you would have it so that this piece goes out that way, but I'm doing it in this way. So like I said, it's an adapted bridge fold card. Now on the back here I have a piece of purple cardstock from my stash. I've embellished it with a embossing folder, and it's an 8 by 8 embossing folder. I would have used one of Lizi's, but she doesn't have one that big, so hence the reason I've gone with that. I've put some double-sided tape on the back to stick that down, and I've done some ink blending around the outside. Now for that I've used the Monarch VersaFine Clair ink for that. I thought that was lovely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my bridges, my sides on, and then I'm going to pop down my pattern paper, and it'll hide most of that little tab that's in there, so it'll go on like so. Now onto that I'm going to move these out of the way. Onto that, well, let me just show you where the bridges are sitting here like this. I wanted to put an arch there, so I've used Lizi's arch dies to make an arch. Now excuse me, I'm all fingers and thumbs because you know I like to show you what I'm going to go and make, and then I'll go ahead and assemble it all. So this is our arch, but the arch dies that we get on the website, now these aren't part of the kit. These are dies that are available from Lizi's website, and what I've done is I've taken 2 of these dies. I have them here. I'm going to move this over here so I can show you, and I'll move that out of the way. So this die, it measures, and this is the largest one, it measures 5.5 in length, but I want my arch to be 7 inches in length. So I have taken a ruler and I have stuck down my 2 arches. Now I've got 2 arches to make my frame. I've put my ruler down on the bottom of the die because these dies cut around the edge on the outside. So I've put my ruler down at 7 inches and I've marked up using a pencil there at the top. So what I'm going to do is some partial die cutting. So I will put this into my die machine and the top plate I'll put on top. Now anything under this plate the die will cut, but anything that isn't under the plate the die won't cut. So what I will do is I will pop my plate there, run it through my die machine, and then what I will do is I will lift up my 2 dies and I will move it up so the top of my die hits my 7-inch mark. Now you'll feel it will lock into place because it'll already have cut stitched lines here. So I will then move it in, and what I will do is I will turn it around because I don't want to cut off the end here, and I will place my die over the top this way round, and I will bring it as far down as I need to go where it's already been cut, and I'll put that through my die machine, and then when that comes out, it comes out like this. You'll have your extended piece, and you'll have your extended piece in the middle as well. So I hope you've understood that. I figured showing you might help you how I did that, and you can do that with any shaped dies if you want to make a frame. So what I'm going to do is, as I showed you, I'm going to pop my arch on the edge and it'll sit here astride these 2 pieces right up like that. This piece then I'm going to pop in on my card on the back here. I'll pop that in there like that. So when you look down through this arch, you'll see this piece. I've taken one of the smaller dies then. This is the 3rd one from the middle. So I counted out 1, 2, 3. I took that die and I die cut out this piece. Now this is a little bit darker than the pattern paper I'm going to use on here. So this piece is going to sit on there like so. I'm going to take some of the Peeloffs and I'm just going to put a couple of Peeloffs across here just to kind of define, you know, the back of the church. And this is to represent the church windows, you know, the glass stained church windows. That's what that's to represent. So we'll look through like that and we'll see that when we look through. Now, these side panels here, I've got some pattern paper and again some of the purple cardstock here, and they're going to sit on like this. Now they're going to sit right over so that they have the same border all around, and the reason I've done it like this is because my arch is going to sit up on top here like that. So we'll have a nice border going all the way around. I was thinking of putting the pattern paper on top, but then it hides my lovely arch. So I'm going to have that like that. And the same on this side. So my pattern paper and my purple paper, the purple one measures 1 3/4 by 5 1/4, and my pattern paper measures 1 1/2 by 5. Yeah, by 5. And so that'll stick on there, and then that'll sit on the other panel here like that. So this pattern paper is the same as this one, only it's darker. Now, our wedding piece, oh, before I go any further, I'm going to take one of the dies, this one here. I've cut out a number of these to use on a previous card and I never used it. So what I want to do is I'm going to take 2 of them and I'm going to stick these onto the back here, just like that. So it'll give a nice little edge to our arch. And I'm going to do the same on this side, and just on the left and the right hand side I'll stick them down. I'm going to, let me move this out of the way then. So I'm going to stamp a sentiment on the back, and I'm going to also put some of our lovely ephemera pieces around the card and on our arch and everything. I'm again going to use some of these stickers from a previous kit. I think I'll take Making the Best Memories of Our Lives, or maybe this one, Love Doesn't Need to Be Perfect. I'll take one of those sentiments there, and I'll probably stick that down across the bottom here. I think they'll fit perfectly. So I think Making the Best Memory of Our Lives, I'll sit that on there like that, and I'll just trim it so it fits right in between my stitched lines. And then I've also got one of the bows that came in the kit. I've got some of the gems that came in the kit. And for a finish, I've also got a bride and groom. This is again from my stash. I've die cut them out in the same purple cardstock as the one we embossed. And again, I went over around the edges of these with the VersaFine Clair Monarch ink. So that's what'll be on the when you look through our lovely arches, you'll have your bride and groom ready to get married. We'll have our lovely piece of ephemera there with a little bow. Now I am debating whether I'll put the bow on or off, the ephemera on and the bow on. I'm not too sure. I'll kind of get to that when I get to that. So they're all the pieces that we need, and I know it seems like a lot, but when you cut out everything and have everything prepped, this card is going to be so quick to make, and I think it'll make a showstopper wedding card. So let's go ahead and assemble all our pieces, and I'm going to start by doing some stamping on the back of our panel first. So rather than use the stamp set that came in the kit and the sentiment on your special day, I'm using a stamp from a previous kit. That stamp might still be available on Lizi's website, so I'll link it below if you don't have that one. But any sentiment will do. I've taken Sending Wedding Day Wishes is what I'm using here. Now I picked up a VersaFine Clair blue and I stamped it on some acetate just so I could see the placement on my 8x8 card. But I wanted to do it in the Monarch, the purple, so it would go with everything else. So I'm going to stick down my little piece there across the bottom, and that's just going to bring our colours and our flowers from the front of the card to the back of the card. Once I have that in place, then I'm going to take another piece of ephemera, and this one has a lovely curve to it. And I'm going to stick that down where the sentiment is. So you see there, it'll fit nicely around the Sending Wedding Day Wishes. And I wanted to draw the eye up to the top left because we had the other piece of ephemera down at the bottom right. So I'm attaching now our bridge parts and I'm adding a little bit of liquid glue onto my double-sided tape, and that's just to give me a little bit of wiggle room getting it into place. And I find as well, when you use a bit of liquid, it will help the piece to attach to the cardstock, because even though double-sided can be great, if this is going to be kept as a memento, after a time, maybe a year or so, the tape can actually dry out, whereas if you use a little bit of liquid glue as well, that actually embeds into the card itself and it stays there forever. I'm using Kalal glue here because this, when it dries, it's a solvent glue and it dries hard, so it'll give a stiffness to the back there. I'm going to add on then my two panels. I'm just putting a little weight down on top while the glue is sticking. Again, I'm using Kalal for the wiggle room. It does take a little bit longer to glue. Now we have a 1/2 inch there white piece next to the panels that we stuck down, and that's where our arch is going to sit. But before I put that in place, I'm adding this beautiful border to go along with it. Now I'm going to ensure that the borders match. So down there at the bottom, I'm making sure it's at the same place as the one on the left. It's the little things, you know, you don't have to do it, but that's what I did. I'm going to take this sentiment sticker from a previous kit. You could just stamp a sentiment here if you have one in your stash. And then I'm going to glue the arches down. So when we add our arch down on top of this, it'll butt right up against the purple panel because there's a 1/2 inch piece there in white, and that's the width of the arch itself. So that's the side of our arches on the left and right stuck down into place, and it looks lovely. I'm delighted with that. I'm going to glue now the pattern paper down onto the panel that came out of the arch, and then I'll stick that down onto the embossed cardstock so that when you look through the arch, that will be directly behind it. I'm going to take some of the ephemera, and I'll have one at the top left and one at the top right. I'm going to put some foam tape behind them for a little lift. And if you don't want dimension on your card, then don't put the foam down where I'm putting foam. Just glue it directly down, and that way you won't have the dimension other than when the card is folded flat. I'm sticking down some of those peel-offs now to our lovely center panel, and once I have that done, then I'll put some foam on the back of my bride and groom, and I'll stick them onto that panel too. I'm going to center them now down onto our panel and make sure that they fit nicely down there, and I do think they look lovely. I will add a little bit of sparkle to them later on using my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen to add a little bit of glitter to that. I'm lining that panel up now in the center of our arch where we took it out from, and then add a little bit of pressure down onto that, and isn't that beautiful? Now we can stick down our 2 pieces of ephemera. And again, I'm using a little bit of liquid glue on the ephemera, and not only will that give me a little bit of wiggle room putting them in place, but it'll also make sure that they're stuck down and bonded nicely to the cardstock itself. So I had to take a little bit of the foam off this piece so that I could nestle it up against that arch that our lovely couple is sitting on. And isn't that lovely? I'm delighted with that now. So I'm going to pop the little bow on, and I'm using my hot glue for that. I was going to put a piece of ephemera under the bow, but I think it's nice just with the ephemera behind that. I think it's classier looking. So I'm going to add a couple of the glitter heart peel-offs. I'll put 2 on the top left and 2 on the bottom right, and I will go in and actually add another 2 just above where our bride and groom are. We got these lovely gems in the kit, and I'm adding one to each of the flower centers. I think that this really makes the flowers pop, and it adds a little bit of bling to our flowers as well. And again, I'll take my Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I will go around the flowers and add some sparkle to them too. I've added some gems now to the back as well, and I think that completes our card. And there we go. There is our altered Bridgefold card, and I just think it looks so cool. I've gone to town with the gems on all the flowers. I think that just makes it pop, and it should have a bit of bling, I think, for a wedding card. Now, I didn't add any to these 2 flowers in here because I've got the 2 little hearts in there, but I think it's lovely. This card will fold flat, and although I've put some foam tape in it, I reckon this would fit in a handmade 8x8 envelope. I would probably put this in a box and tie it with a beautiful bow. I think would really, you know, it'd make a show of the whole card. But yeah, I love it. I think the Indigoletta card kit for this is just beautiful. I love the color palette of this kit, and I like that we have lots of dimension. You know, you could have it so that the card sits like that. You could have it so that the card opens right out. There's loads of room for dimension, and when you look straight on at this card with all the dimension, it's like you're looking down the church to the arch, you know, through the arch and down the church to the stained glass window behind. I love it. I hope you've enjoyed this card. as much as I have. If you make it, please do share it on my Facebook group called Your Cards and Crafts, or even Lizzie's Facebook group. I know she'd love to see it. I have links for them down below in the description. If you've enjoyed my video, please do give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel and ding the bell so when I share another card with you, you'll be notified. I have a special button at the bottom called Super Thanks if you'd like to support my channel by clicking on that button. It's like a buy me a coffee kind of a button, so that's down below as well. And there's links to all the products and to the measurements of everything. So that's it. I'm going to leave it there, folks. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. Take care, stay safe, and bye for now. Bye bye.